What's the best or most recent I'm an adult with a paycheck fun buy you've made? Story 1. There was a Japanese dude selling bonsai trees on the street the other day. I drove past thinking, hey, I want a bonsai tree. Then I realized I was an adult and could go back and purchase a bonsai tree. So I did. Edit, someone asked me for a pic, so here's my bonsai tree. Also, dude, I bought it from, said I can keep it near a window, but I'm getting a lot of people tell me it needs to be outside, so I will investigate this promptly. Story 2. I bought my dad the car he's lusted after for 30 years, parked it in his driveway and visited him for a good 30M before showing him a picture of it and saying, oh hey, this is yours, it's parked outside. Almost made him cry. It was a few years ago, and he still occasionally calls me to tell me he's driving it and how much he loves it. Edit. Answered down in the comments, but since so many people are still asking, it is a 2019 BMW 750i. He's wanted one forever, and now he could afford it himself, but he would never treat himself to such an extravagance. I'm incredibly happy to have been able to make it happen and don't regret blowing the cash on it for 1 second. Story 3. We bought a $250 trampoline at a big box store for a single BBQ event we had. Gave the trampoline to a neighbor's kid in exchange for mowing the lawn for the summer. We will pay him more. He just doesn't know it yet. Story 4. I found a band I really like on TikTok and bought tickets for a Portland show on a whim. I almost never do this. Turns out, the show is at a goth club. I'm really not into goth. I figured I'd just wear black jeans and a Misfits shirt. But then I looked at the club on Instagram, and all the regulars dress all fancy and shit with like capes or, I don't know, 3-piece suits with black shirts and dark red ties and vests for the dudes and long flowing black dresses for the women. So I bought a satin Hawaiian type shirt, but the print is white and red roses and a bunch of skulls. It looks ridiculous, but it's so damn fun. As long as I'm mentioning it, does anyone in Portland want to meet up at a goth club? I can't convince a single one of my friends to go, and my wife has an important stream that night. I just feel like it'll be weird if a middle-aged fat white guy shows up alone. It's at a place called Coffin Club. I'm mostly going for the opening act, Future Nobodies, so I'll be getting there before 8. The other 2 bands sound pretty cool after looking them up on YouTube, but I'm really digging the opening band. Tickets are $20. I'll buy you a cocktail. The drinks looked really yummy from what I could tell. Story 5. One of the most enjoyable purchases I've seen people make is investing in a high-quality espresso machine or elegant coffee maker. It's a small luxury that can make a morning special and productive. Plus, who doesn't like the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the house? Story 6. Girl Scouts were selling cookies outside the store I was walking in. I overheard the adult with them say, remember, don't yell at people asking if they want cookies, you'll scare them away. One girl politely asked me if I wanted cookies and I told her, not unless they all yell at me. They were so excited and I bought 5 boxes. I had to run back to the store shortly after, and when I walked up, they screamed asking if I want cookies. My heart warmed, knowing they remembered me personal shopping preferences. Okay, so there's 7 of you, right? Pick out your favorite 7 boxes and I'll buy them on the way out. They screamed with joy. When I came out and paid, the mom asked the girls to help me bring the cookies to the car. I told them no. They each get a box, so I hope they pick their favorites. You've never seen a pack of kids look so effing excited. I spent $72 on cookies that morning, and then had to explain to my wife why she only got 5 boxes. But that will always be a favorite memory of mine and hope theirs too. Sometimes being an adult and having fun wasting money is stuff like this. And Texas Rangers 2023 World Series champions gear, that too. Story 7. A 3-night stay at a fancy lodge right outside of Yosemite. Normally I would camp or do the cheapest route for lodging, but this time I wanted to treat myself. It will be nice to come back from hiking and soak in a hot tub with a glass of wine. Story 8. Most of my fun things I buy are food-related because growing up, we didn't have that much money to spend on things to experiment with. I recently bought a thing of chili crisp, not knowing what it was, for like $1.10. That's not something I would have done before because that $1.10 could have been spent on chicken, beef, or pork. I live close to an international grocery store, so if I see something on the shelf that looks interesting, I will buy it. I make pretty good money now, so I am trying to work past that anxiety of not having enough. I found that if something looks good, it probably is, although the flavor's texture might be unusual to you. However, I now think I have a chili crisp problem. It's not uncommon for me to sneak a spoonful every now and then. Story 9. My fun purchase is arriving today. I ordered the Samsung Freestyle 2 projector. I don't need it, I want it. And thanks to their Samsung credit, I get to have it for $25 a month interest-free until it is paid off. Interest-free! I also started last year going on trips by myself just because I want to. I have a really cool one planned in July, and another in the works for this fall. Story 10. I used to travel for festivals and to see specific artists. This DJ had a Virginia show. I lived in Florida. Booked the hotel literally walking distance from venue and bought tickets immediately. My friend was supposed to go. She bailed within a week of the trip. Normally I would cancel out of being upset/save money, but I pushed through and went with some Twitter friends who split costs with me. Ended up being a wild weekend. The whole strip of hotels leading to venue was exclusively concert goers who would party until 5 a.m. every night. Free party favors everywhere. Ended up meeting the headliner. Not only that, he drove up on my group and gave us a free ticket for his sold-out show. Safe to say it has become a core memory in life. Story 11. I was missing about 20 or so cards in a vintage Pokemon card collection, so I found the ones I was missing on eBay and bought them, and a nice binder book for them. I now have every holographic Pokemon card made prior to 2002. Total spent about $1,500, but super worth it for when I'm 75 years old. Story 12. Darn tough socks. They're $20/pair. Also, for those who don't know, the jump from store-brand underwear to even a common brand like Fruit of the Loom is incredible. I've also begun trying to get clothing made in the USA. Mostly, though, I just buy fun things for my wife because she would never buy them for herself. Did you know you can custom design Nike shoes on their website? Story 13. Paying for weekly music lessons over Zoom. I picked up a new instrument during the pandemic and am now almost 3 years in. Playing music has become one of the best parts of my life. The songs are beautiful. It is an emotional outlet. It forces me to disconnect from screens, and it has measurable progress in the span of days or weeks instead of years. Just this afternoon, I played a song from memory that a month ago was hard even with the chords in front of me. Music lessons keep up my slow but steady progress and, most importantly, ensure that I don't drop music when life gets busy. Story 14. My motorcycle. Always wanted one, especially a big cruiser-style bike. So I went and bought, years ago, a Yamaha Roadstar Silverado 1600cc, all black and chrome. That is my baby to this day, and she will be buried cremated alongside me to take into the next world, LOL. When my entire motorcycle-hating family started giving me shit about it and how I was going to get myself killed on it 20 years ago, I replied with Al Aust those exact words. I'm an adult, I pay a fucking mortgage, I bring in a nice paycheck, and I will buy whatever the hell I want with my own money, thank you very much. Story 15. My parents have always been so incredibly giving throughout my life. The times I was paycheck to paycheck, they'd loan me money when I needed it. When my dad got a sales bonus at work, he'd share it with the people he loved. When I visit them, they'll always toss some gas money in my pocket on the way out the door. I realize this isn't the case for everyone, and I'm very lucky to have them. I've changed lines of work and finally become debt-free and have some savings, so this year I bought them a trip to Vegas since they'd never been. By far the most expensive gift I've ever bought, but completely worth it for the joy they experienced. Also worth noting, the giving doesn't refer only to money, but just wanted it to fit the context of the thread. Story 16. I got my first professional paycheck when I was 18 in programming. Growing up poor, maraschino cherries and Andes mints were a rare luxury. I cashed my check and went straight to the grocery and bought a box of Andes mints and a jar of cherries. To this day, one of the most memorable and fun moments of my early life. Story 17, probably for me, is my MetaQuest 2. I bit the bullet because I really wanted something I could enjoy standalone. I really want to see what it's like to do VR for gaming at home. My next paycheck is going to be either an electric bike or scooter. I'm tired of playing the old man and simply barking at all the younger people having fun on those things. LOL. I'm only in my 40s, but I look at younger people sometimes as if I'm a boomer sometimes, haha. Story 18. Me and my 13-year-old son are both into Fallout. I've been playing the game since the 90s, and before that, when I was a teenager, I was really into Wasteland. And I gave him Fallout 4 a few years ago. He's also dabbled with New Vegas. When the show came out, we watched it together, and I decided to get us each a copy of the Fallout 76 online game so we could play together. I should mention another I'm an adult with a paycheck thing I've done is made my son his own mid-tier gaming PC. So we played the game for a few days and had a blast, so I just said fuck it. I don't really spend money on stupid shit, so hey, how about I buy us each a year's subscription to the game's premium shit? And I did. $200 for 2-year-long subscriptions to Fallout first. I'm a middle-aged man with a good job and a good kid. We deserve it. Story 19. Sometimes it's just the stupid little things. I haven't had McDonald's in a couple years since I don't really eat fast food unless I'm in an airport or something. But I was craving their fries, and you know what? Fuck it. I'm an adult. I can drive through and get a small fries. It won't kill me. Worth it. They were fresh. I swear McDonald's laces those things with crack or something. They're absolutely perfect when they're fresh. Story 20. Tires for my truck. I don't drive her as much as I used to, and mainly because she is getting old. Once I had an accident, the truck is just off a bit. The current tires I had were over 6 years old, so these new ones are actually exciting for me. I just dropped off my truck and I'm waiting for the call to go pick it up. Story 21. Buying things for the house. Not knickknacks, but actually house upgrade things. Like I just had a company seal and add insulation to my attic, looking at buying solar panels, working on a design for finishing the basement, and then I'll work on it over a couple years LOL. Installed plugs for EV chargers in the garage. Installed a sunshade over the back deck. Working on a home theater setup in the basement with a 150 inches projection screen. LOL fun. Story 22. I bought a Garfield plush. I've never had anything Garfield related before, but I grew up loving him and anything that featured him in it. Now I snuggle with my personal Garfield, and it makes me think about how happy my younger self would have been with my purchase. It may be silly, but to me it's worth so much more than what I spent on it. Story 23. Recently, I purchased a Weber kettle grill off Marketplace for $45 less than I would have paid for it new, with a bunch of things I would have had to buy separately. Chimney, coal stoker, cover, huge back of lump charcoal, and various bags of wood chips. Since getting it, I've only used my propane grill once, and that was only because I didn't have room on the kettle to grill what I wanted to. I've been getting into smoking and have smoked a few racks of ribs and a chuck roast, and all have come out great. It's overall got me cooking a lot more and has just been a lot of fun to learn. Story 24. This one's probably not super exciting to most, but probably relatable. I grew up in a middle-class environment, but my parents were fairly frugal, especially when it came to the kids' clothes and athletic equipment. I played soccer from the time I could walk up through high school and was always embarrassed by the cheap, shitty shoes. I will never forget the game where the plastic cleats were actually starting to mushroom, and the ref had me on the sideline scraping the sharp edge off with a pocket knife. 20 years later, I got roped into an adult rec league by a coworker, and I bought the nicest Diadora cleats I could find, and have never been happier to spend $200 on a pair of shoes. Story 25. We bought our daughter a legit bounce house that fits in our living room, was refurbished for $250, and is one of the best purchases ever, kinda bought on a whim. We can just push the couch back and set it up, and she'll play on it for hours by herself. I'm super jealous of her because I'd have loved that as a kid. Story 26. I went to a game place the other day with my sister and friends. They had arcade games and those Japanese toy grabber machines. Being suckers for that kind of thing, we decided to try to win some stuffed animals and other goodies. In total, we won 2 large plushes and 4 keychain plushies. Did we spend more money on those than what they're likely actually worth? Yeah. Was it worth it? Probably not. Did I have fun? Absolutely. Especially since I won most of those toys in 1 to 4 tries after everyone else spent so much time trying. I probably won't be doing that again anytime soon. Maybe I'll just go bowling. I miss bowling. Story 27. My wife and I were looking at buying a Chuck E. Cheese summer pass for our 2-yo. My logical brain was telling me the lowest tier was more than enough because you can still go every day. But I very much wanted to spend the extra $36 for the middle tier so I could play 2-player games with her without having to worry about tokens. I spent the extra, and we have taken her to Chuck E. Cheese 3 days in a row after preschool. Today will likely be the 4th. The higher tier has definitely been worth it for us because our daughter loves the crane games. They are extremely cost inefficient, consuming tokens way faster than many of the proper video games, so having a big bundle of tokens means we can blow through a bunch on cranes and still have enough to get good time on other games. I also found an exploit to generate a consistent stream of tickets, so we've been able to get a bunch of prizes despite not prioritizing tickets when selecting games. LOL. Story 28. I used a form of this line like a week ago. The past month, I've bought 2 pretty nice outdoor basketballs. I bought one just to go shoot around at the park with, because that's more fun than walking or running around the neighborhood. One day I was out there all alone, and a kid walked up to one of the other hoops and was shooting with ratty old soccer ball. I remember the struggle of not having a decent basketball to shoot with when I was a kid. So when I was leaving, I asked if he'd like to use my basketball. I told him he could keep it, and he got so frickin' excited. Next day at Walmart, I grab another ball and my SO asks what I did with the one I just bought. Told them I gave it to some kid at the park. They thought it was weird. I said the kid needed a ball, and I've got a big boy job and can afford to buy all the basketballs I want. Story 29, maybe the most expensive, a $12,000 motorcycle. I had two bikes, one of which had endured tens of thousands of miles of punishment, and had reached the point where every time I rode it, it broke down. The other bike ran well, was super reliable, but some parts on it were wearing out, and it was such a weird and unusual bike that parts either didn't exist or were back-ordered for 6 months. So I had one bike I couldn't ride, and another that had some minor problems that couldn't be fixed without me waiting months. I almost exclusively ride to work and everywhere else, so this wasn't a toy issue. So I traded both of them in on a new bike. The new bike is reliable, quiet, smooth, and reasonably fast. Maybe a bit too fast, but I can ride it every day, and it's cheaper than throwing a few $100 at a worn-out bike every month. Story 30. I got my first job back in February. I've always dreamt of going to Cedar Point like I did as a kid, but with Fast Pass since there were so many rides I had never gotten a chance to ride. Randomly, 2 weeks ago on a Thursday, I thought, what if I just went? That Saturday, I drove 2 hours to Cedar Point with Fastlane Plus and rode a bunch of rides all by myself, and it was genuinely the most fun I'd had in years. Story 31. A few years ago, I got a Quest 2 because I finally had some money. It was one of the best decisions I've made lately. In addition to the VR gaming, games like Thrill of the Fight have been an incredibly fun way to get exercise. I've lost a lot of weight because of the Quest. This is in the future, but I'm planning an ambitious literary tour of England. This won't be until next year, though, possibly 2026, depending on how some things work out. I may decide to go to a Jane Austen festival, which may conflict with some existing plans for next year. Story 32. My last silly but well worth it purchase was a VFX lightsaber. It currently has a place of honor in front of my TV. I also keep it charged in case I feel like practicing my skills. I also got some good money from work, so I bought some Legos. Speed Champions, Star Wars, and Technic. Love building them. But the last silly purchase was well over a year ago, and it's not happening again for the foreseeable future.